Let me stream.
So will everyone, the participants are here, but there'll be other people that are on.
Facebook as well.
So the interaction will come from Zoom.
You said the what will come from Zoom?
Interaction. If are we, if anyone needs to.
I'll be monitoring both. So yeah, I'll be monitoring the chat on Zoom and on Facebook.
Okay. All right. Are we ready?
Let me. I'm trying to get it to the page. Okay. Okay. It says it is. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our first financial literacy workshop for the month of June. I am Shanita Johnson, your first vice president for the Women's Council of National Association of Real Estate Brokers. And our speaker for today is Wahpillar White. She will introduce herself, but just want to give her a brief intro. She is with River City Investments, and she has some very valuable information for us today. So um, I will move out of her way so she can get her presentation underway. But if you have any questions, you can leave them in the chat. If you are on Facebook, just leave them in the comments and we'll get to them as they come. And without further ado, you can go ahead, Miss White. Let
Good
me.
afternoon. Good afternoon. Again, my name is Wahpillar White. I am Senior Relationship Officer with River City Capital. Such a pleasure to be with you guys today. Thank you so much for having me. Today, the business presentation will be on small business funding, which is such a heavy subject right now because entrepreneurship is blossoming, it's flowing, and everyone has these ideas that they're wanting to put out there. And of course, before we can bring our vision to life, there's funding that's needed. So today I'll be walking through the process of business funding and what's needed in order to obtain capital for your business. So we're going to go through the presentation first. In between in the presentation, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to put those questions in the chat, and I will try to answer them as soon as they're received. We will also have Q&A at the end, just an open forum discussion for any questions you guys may have in reference to the presentation or small business funding in itself. Are you able to see my screen, Shanita?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. So again, I'm Wahpillar White, Senior Relationship Officer. Today we will go over the foundational tools of small business funding and obtaining access to capital. We will speak briefly about planning and execution, and then also sustainability, how to sustain the business after you receive capital, after you have provided yourself with the foundational tools to launch the business. How do you sustain this and make this a tool for generational wealth and for increased success? So we'll start with a few foundational tools that I feel like will launch you for long-term success. So the first thing you want to think about is your credit worthiness. Personal wise and business wise, have I positioned myself, have I positioned the business to be credit worthy, to be able to approach a financial institution in requesting capital? A business plan, have I created a comprehensive roadmap for a business plan? So when we speak about business plans, it's not just something that you're copy and pasting and you're saying that this is what I would like to do. This is my idea. When you think about a business plan, you want to make sure that you've created a plan that you can use as a guide and a roadmap to lead you through the business planning process and execute what you're looking to do. So when you're formulating that business plan, what I would suggest is phasing it out and things that are doable and things that are tangible for right now. So you can do phase one and creating your EIN or researching buildings or creating a budget and putting those things in place and then launching to phase two, three, and four, and etc. Also, when you're thinking about small business lending, what type of collateral that you have in place? So when you think about collateral, you want to ask yourself, do I have collateral that's valuable and collateral that the bank will accept or that a CDFI will accept? So not just an old box Chevy that you feel like I can use as collateral. You want to really research the value that you have in the collateral to make sure that it's sustainable for the loan request. And then also ask yourself, does the collateral match the loan request that I'm requesting? So if you know that the box Chevy is only worth 10,000, but you're requesting 100,000, you have to do the math and make sure that the collateral is making sense. Another term of research will be your interest rates and terms. So you want to make sure that you're doing an examination of the current market and what the rates are and what your interest rate would be in comparison to your personal credit score. One thing that we do look at is risk management, monitoring your performance, how you have managed your assets, how you have managed your bank account, and making sure that there is not a stronger risk than what we would like to see. And then also making sure that the business is in compliance with your state's rules and regulations for business ownership. And that is case by case per business. So you want to do your research and make sure you have working knowledge of the industry that you're diving into. These are just a few things, a few foundational things that you want to do your research on and really write down in your business plan and even in your notes as you're navigating launching or maybe scaling. These are things that you want to keep in mind before you even complete a loan application. So let's start at establishing the business. Um, you want your business license, of course. You're going to need that, your tax ID registration, your EIN, articles of incorporation, your operating agreement, and bylaws. So I've listed here what each of these are and also provided the definition for you to look further into that to see what matches the type of business that you're looking to launch or that you currently have, and is that what is best suitable for you. If that is what you have, you can mark that off on your checklist. Just make sure that you keep all of your documentation and make sure that those things are readily available as you are approaching seeking capital or even grants. You want to make sure that these things are already established. And then if you have an LLC, make sure that that is exactly what you need and you've read through what it means to have an LLC and it may not be something else that's needed. So just making sure that you're doing proper research on the industry and the type of licenses that's required is very, very key. Do we have any questions so far? Someone's not muted.
Did someone have a question? I don't think.
Okay. If you guys can mute your line, I'm getting some feedback. I think someone is not muted. Okay. So we're going to move forward with establishing a business and permits and licenses. So these are additional things that you want to look into: your insurance policies, intellectual property documentation, your employee documents, and also your financial statements. These things are very important when it comes to really your back office and making sure that your back office has a solid foundation. If you don't have any balance sheets or income statements, you can also have projections on what the business is projecting to make at some point in time as you guys launch. You also want this documentation for tax purposes as well. So you may want to go ahead and start speaking with an accountant so they can speak to you about how your taxes should be structured at the end of the year. How are you paying in taxes, or How is that? So at the beginning of the year, you are already in place for how the business is going to document the taxes. Other areas of establishing a small business, it's very important to understand marketing and branding materials. When you're developing a marketing strategy to promote your business, I would suggest aligning with a marketing firm. Do not become reliant on social media. That is not the only basis for marketing and branding. Actually, I would put that maybe in the middle of your list when it comes to marketing and branding. A lot of times, the people that you know will not be your primary supporters. You want to make sure that you are looking at your target market. For us as a CDFI, a lot of times what we've been doing recently is really looking into the marketing strategy because that's going to be key for the business. If there is not a secure marketing strategy with us, it does, I'm not going to say greatly counts against the business owner, but it is an area of concern if there is not a solid marketing strategy in place. Because if you're not marketing to the target market, it's not really a great way to look to scale the business. So I would suggest really looking into a marketing firm and aligning with that marketing firm to make sure that you have a solid strategy in place to really gear towards your target market. Your business bank account. I would suggest to open a business bank account that's separate from your personal and highly suggest not to commingle funds. If you have a business account, keep your personal funds separate from your business transactions. When when an individual is reviewing a business account, it's really hard to decipher how the business is performing and what type of expenses that the business has if there's personal expenses that are mixed with the business expenses. So I would highly suggest separating that and making sure that your business bank account flows and that there's consistency across the board with your business transactions. We discussed business plans briefly, making sure that you have your health and safety compliance documents in place, depending on your industry, making sure that there's inspections reports that are in place and that those things are readily available should they be requested, and then contracts and agreements, making sure that including but not limiting to lease agreements for your business, the premises, the supplier contracts, partnerships and agreements, and then also your employee contracts. Making sure that those things are solidified and in place, making sure that they are correct, are very key when obtaining funding, but also just making sure that the business is in a firm place and it has a solid foundation. So these are a few Tennessee state requirements: the business structure, insurance coverage, hiring employees. As of April 4th, 2022, the federal government has eliminated the use of a DUNS number, and you do have to now use the unique entity identifier. So you want to make sure that you have that information and that worker knowledge readily available because these things change all the time. So these are some things that you may want to also look into because when you get in that underwriting process, if you don't have this information, then you have to go back to the drawing board and make sure that you have the proper information in order to move forward. Really, when obtaining funding, the bank or any financial institution is going to want to make sure that this is not a huge risk factor. This is a business that's viable, and this is a business that's really looking to scale in the future. So I would continue to say your back office is really going to help launch your front office. You're facing your face when you're out in the public and you're really before individuals and you're speaking business. Your back office is very key in making sure that you can really scale and be successful. Any questions so far? We'll keep moving. Okay. Leveraging partnerships. This is very important when you are speaking in terms of obtaining funding. So, as you're leveraging partnerships, you want to make sure that you have a solid relationship with your banker, your financial planner, your local board officials, your business patrons, and making sure that you have an expansive network that can really speak to who you are as a business owner and also the performance of the business. So make sure that your partnerships are leveraged and make sure that you have individuals around you and also the business that can speak to what you're doing and really speak towards your business acumen. I would highly suggest. This is going to help in solidifying and establishing the business. And also, it definitely helps in the area of scaling. So, also, just assessing where you are as a business owner is very important. If you are an individual that has a startup, then the personal finances will be highly considered when it comes to obtaining funding. So you want to make sure that if you're a startup, your personal finances are in place. If it's an existing business, of course, you want to make sure that all of your financials and everything concerning the business is in alignment. But really pinpoint the current state of business. Am I a startup? Am I existing? What am I considered before I go and request capital? And then also pinpoint the need of the business. Do I need working capital? Is it operating expenses? Is it startup expenses? So really pinpoint who you are and what you're looking to do. Where do I currently stand? And making sure that when you're presenting, you have really made a concrete decision on where you are and you're not all over the place with what you need. If you say you need working capital, what I would suggest was create a list, a Microsoft Excel sheet, and have a total at the bottom. These are the things that I need to allocate the funds for. This is what I need for working capital. If it's operating expenses, really provide a breakdown of what does that mean if I say I need operating expenses. It cannot be vague. Vague is really not going to help when you're making a request because there's specific details that's needed to have the business to be considered or the business owner. You want to be very strategic and you want to be very direct in what the need is. So if it's startup expenses, create an expansive list and also break it down into phases. For phase one, for my startup expenses, this is what I need. And create a total at the bottom. Do intense research on what's needed and create a list and have different tabs on your Excel spreadsheet with that list of everything that's needed and then have a total at the bottom. And this is going to change, it's going to fluctuate. You may say, I need a banner for my business. Now I think I need a sign. I think I need a billboard. These things are going to change. Well, and then also, what's more cost efficient for me right now as a business owner? So really navigate to say, I thought I needed 10,000, but I realized I really need 5,000 right now to really do what I need to do, and then we'll scale up. Start small and then become more expansive as time goes on. So that list is very important because it's really going to help you to assess where you are and how can I approach this to make this really doable to bring this business to life and really push everything forward. Any questions so far? I don't want to move ahead. None? Okay. All right. Let's get into a strategic marketing plan. So, well, I spoke a little bit briefly about your strategic marketing plan, and it's very important because we live in a social media time. We're in a time of social media where everyone feels like that is my way of marketing. Things you want to really think about is your targeting audience. Who am I targeting? If I were selling food, who's my target audience? What type of audience eats this food? What's my budget? Monitoring and reviewing the feedback from your audience. If you had a billboard, how many people have responded to the billboard? If I have flyers and I go back to that business where I posted the flyers, how many people have taken the flyers and contacted me? So that's where strategic marketing really comes into place, and it really helps you to learn where you really need to dive in targeting your audience and scaling the business. Your positioning strategy. How have I positioned my business to be able to entertain the audience and make sure that they're receiving what I'm saying or offering and it's really bringing in revenue? And then measuring and evaluating and revisiting. Okay, so the billboard did not work. So let's go back to the drawing board. What's another marketing strategy? Or the emails that I have sent out, they're not working. Let's go back to the drawing board. Where else can I dive in to make sure that I am targeting my specific audience for my for what I am doing for my business? So, and then also your risk management. Is it a risk to have a billboard? Is it a risk to only do social media? And then also your competition. Really analyze your competition. Who else is in the industry and doing what I'm doing? And size up your competition to see how they're performing and how you can better your business and what you're doing. So there's so many lanes that everyone's in and everyone's kind of doing the same thing sometimes, and you really want to make sure that your business stands out from other businesses to make sure that you're being the best that you can be as a business owner. And then also compare month to month. So you have April, May, and June. How did marketing perform in April in comparison to June? So you want to do quarterly checks, you want to do monthly checks, you may even want to do weekly checks, but really review your marketing. Be very strategic in how you are measuring the performance month per month, week by week, and quarterly, so forth and so on. So reviewing long terms, what I would highly suggest before actually even requesting funding is to look at your long terms. Look at the interest rate in comparison to your credit score. Get an amortization schedule to compare against your existing financials. If you know that your monthly payment is going to be 565 a month, work that into the budget to see if that really works for the business right now, or work that into your personal finances to see if that is what really works for you right now. So you can adjust the loan amount, you can adjust the interest rate, adjust the terms. So when you approach someone that you're seeking capital, or you approach a financial institution and you're seeking capital, you know for yourself on the back end where you would like to position yourself in the business as far as payments, interest rate, and your prepayment phase. So you really want to create a mock schedule for yourself with the payments, and you know in a budget what you would like to see as far as interjecting new debt into your monthly payments. So what I would suggest is, as you prepare for repayment, to really sit down and think about what you would like to see as far as the monthly payment is concerned. So you are always free to review loan terms on your own term before you actually request capital. Here are a few statements that would be reviewed and that are always good to have when you are operating a business. You have your balance sheet, your income sheet. Your balance sheet is just a snapshot of the company's financial position. Your income statement, that's going to be a summary of the revenue, your expenses, your profit and losses. These are things that are really needed and you have to have a working knowledge of. So even if you're not requesting capital, you still have those things on record that you can go back and review and have a full understanding on how you're functioning. Your performance really matters, and you want to make sure that this information is always readily available. Your cash flow statements, your notes to financial statements, your footnotes. I would suggest really diving into these statements if you don't already have them, and making sure you have a working knowledge of what each of them means to your business. And then your financial structure. So you have your business bank statements, of course, but we want to look at the deposits, the withdrawals, and the payments, how much interest is being earned on the type of account that you have, your bank fees and charges. Are there a lot of bank fees associated? Because if so, then that's considered an expense. And then your ending balance calculations and additional notes or messages that are attached to the business account. We want to look at all of those things to make sure that those things are healthy and thriving and also in alignment. One thing that I would also just reiterate is commingling personal and business spending. I would highly suggest to always separate business expenses from personal expenses at all times. Make sure that that information is always separate. And these are just a few examples of assets and liabilities. you have your cash, your loan interest receivable, your accounts payable. So I would say to get with an accountant on the business, and they will be able to provide a breakdown of all of these things and keep a healthy relationship with them to always know where you stand as far as assets and liabilities, your statement of activities. So these are just a few examples of um, things that are reviewed and looked at as far as requesting funding and even understanding the state of the business. So you have this is a statement of financial position, and this is all that it entails. This is a statement of activities, your earned income, your total revenue, the expenses, interest on loans, rent. All of these things can be listed and kept for review for financial performance or even for yourself to understand your budget. You may your expenses may be too high and you need to revisit to minimize your expenses. So this will help you to keep a snapshot month to month on how much you're paying out in expenses, and maybe I need to scale back, or maybe I'm doing great and I'm performing well. But this provides a snapshot of what that is and how you're performing. And then forecasting. So when you're forecasting, you're really looking at where you're looking to be future wise for the business. So in January of 23, maybe in 22, you forecasted that this is my budget of 10,000. This is what I actually spent, and this was the variance. So these things are very important. Just align with your accountant to really get a working knowledge of these things and really keep the books in line when you are knowing that you would like to request capital, or if you're just looking to scale the business, because it's going to really help you to not only project but also perform. And we're almost at the end. So, what I would say is using tools for technology and success. I'm sorry. So, Asana, Monday.com, these are like project management tools that can really assist the business in staying organized and really helping to understand where you are as a business owner or what you're looking to do. It helps you to keep your notes in place. It helps you to keep your financials in place. QuickBooks is a popular one, Rocket Money. These are a lot of tools and technology that you can use to really organize the business, put all of this information into one place, and really be able to speak to who you are as a business owner and then also the business in itself. So, even if it's websites that you use, list all of that information into one place. If it's your financials and you need to quickly check on what my revenue was for March of 2024, then you have those tools that are readily available to be able to review and speak to as well. Copper is a good CRM where you can manage your customer base. So you really want to make sure that your back office is set in place with tools that are really going to help you stay organized and really be strategic in keeping your information readily available. So I hope I did not go too fast with the presentation, but I also want to make sure that we had enough time for questions and collaboration. So that's the end of the presentation. And if I need to go back to any slide at any given time, just let me know. But if anyone has any questions, we can dive into questions and feedback and what you guys would like to know as far as business funding is concerned.
Thank you so much, Wahpillar. I don't see any questions in the chat right now, but I did jot down a few questions. So let me, um, and I'm gonna try to keep my eye on Facebook too, because I know we're live over there. But one of the questions is when it comes to, because I've been asked this before, when it comes to building credit or business credit, right? I know you said that when you're a startup, of course, your personal credit is important. But when you have a business, so how do you go about building business credit? Is that something that River City helps with, or is that something that you have to get elsewhere? Or how do you go about the process of doing it?
So you can always, even a small business credit card in the business name is going to help establish credit. If you were to obtain a loan with River City Capital, then that would count towards business credit. So yes. So I would say starting small with a small business credit card, anything that you put in the name of the business is going to help for business credit. So that would be the minimal way to get started with business credit would be like a small business credit card, a small
Okay.
business loan, even if it's a small credit line that's very minimum. It's not 50,000 or 60,000. You're starting small just to get established. That will help to establish business credit.
Okay. The next question. Oh, you talked about collateral. Does the collateral have to be a certain, does the value have to be a certain amount of a certain percentage of the funding that is requested?
It has to equate to the request. So if the loan is 100,000, however, the vehicle or the home is is at a number that's well below the request, it does so we're not able to really use that as something that's sustainable should the individual default on the loan. It doesn't leverage with the loan request to be able to have that as collateral that's sustainable. So
Okay.
if I had a small personal loan and I was using a vehicle as collateral, if my vehicle is worth 10,000, so let's just say the loan is 5,000, that exceeds my loan request and is substantial to say, okay, I can use this as collateral because they have something of value to equate to that request.
Okay. That makes sense. I can read my own notes. Okay, marketing. You mentioned marketing. Um, as you said, social media is heavy. We have five, six, seven platforms that people tend to use to market their business. So I like that you said that it's not enough, and you mentioned a couple of things like billboards and flyers. Now, does it does the marketing depend? Um, when you're marketing, is that does it depend on the business that you're using, and how is that weighed when it comes to the funding? So if I'm only, let's just say I'm using, um, let's say I'm using social media and a billboard. Now, will that matter when it comes to the funding, or would you suggest that I use other media for my marketing?
What I would suggest is really formulating a strategic marketing plan with a marketing firm
Okay.
because they have the working knowledge of what marketing means and how to really execute according to the actual business. So let's just say you have a hair business, and this is just an example, and you're only using social media. Well, I would not just think about it as a hair business. Who are you targeting in that hair business? So a billboard is not enough, or it may be enough, but it's really according to like how you're positioning that billboard. Do the women that you're trying to cater to pass by this billboard or live in the area? You want to look at demographic, age. There's so many different things when it comes to marketing. What I would suggest is not just saying, okay, I'm going to go get a billboard. That may not be what's needed according to the business, but a marketing firm, they have the working knowledge and they're professional in that area where they can say, according to our research and according to our expertise, this is what you actually need to do. Because essentially, you want to go to where who's going to spend money on what you're offering. Um, so I would say social media is a very, very small portion because a lot of times family and friends are not really going to support you until you're that person and then they're going to come on board. So you want to make sure that you speak to the professionals that really do this for a living because when you're just starting out and you're a beginner in that, I'm just putting it out there and hoping that I get a bite. I'm hoping that people will receive what I'm putting out there. It's a hope. But when you're strategic and you receive professional feedback on how to execute, now you have that strategic marketing plan to put it in place to really gear toward who's receiving what you're getting. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and I'm so glad that you said that. I think that's a thing that people miss a lot of times in business. Um, that the assumption is that the people that know me will be the ones to support me, and a lot of times they're not your audience, they're not your customer. And so I'm glad that you said that. So because we can't stress that enough. Even, and I think maybe the majority of people on here may be in real estate. I'm sure somebody has at least one story where their family member bought a house with somebody else, or they used somebody else for their mortgage. So yeah, it. I think we have to get that just because they know us, they're our family, they're our friends, they're not necessarily our customer or our client. Thank you for saying that.
And it's not to say that it has not worked for some people, because you can get that one client that can recommend you based on their following or who they are, and it could really launch your business forth. But that's a 1 in a 10 opportunity that we get that. Like, everyone doesn't have that popular cousin that can put us on.
Right.
So you just want to keep that in mind. And unfortunately, so your supporters are a lot of times going to come to from strangers, people that are looking for what you have and are really interested. And it's all based on presentation, how you brand, how you market yourself, and that perfect stranger to be the person that can help launch the business forth. But you have to be very strategic and really get with the team, and build your back office with that team behind you to say, this is the market research that we've done, and this is how you should pivot and navigate putting the business out there. And it's definitely not just Facebook.
Thank you for saying that. And I have part, I guess, another part of that question too. How important is a website for a business when trying to get funding?
I would say a website is very important, especially the way that you stage the website. That's really going to be the face of the business, and how you can have a presentation, and how you can also make money in your sleep. If you have a working website and you have a layout of who you are as a business owner, an about me page, they know about you. They can refer other people, so that's bringing in traffic. You have your products and your services. You have a way that has it's a walking business card, really. So I would say it's very important having a website and really being able to stage the business and really have a storefront without having a storefront, by way of having it online. And then it does not limit you to your city. Anyone can find your website from state to state. So even if I were a realtor, I could have a website to market myself, to say this is who I am and this is what I have to offer. So it's very helpful. It's a great tool. It's good as far as marketing is concerned, because there's different ways that you can navigate your website and really present yourself.
Did I mute? Okay, no, I thought I muted myself. So thank you for saying that about the websites. Um, and you said a working website, not just a website. Okay.
So meaning that you don't want just a one pager that just has the logo and this is who we are. Make it very functional, and make sure that your tabs make sense. Make sure that they're very detailed and they flow. You don't want to congest information, because we're a very fast paced world right now, where we live in a very fast paced environment. If it's very congested, then no one's really going to take the and people don't read. So no one's going to really take the time to read 10 pages. So make sure that it has robust information, but at the same time, it's minimal. It gives them enough to want more, and it's outlined in a way that's presented well, and the person that's looking for what you have is going to make them pick up the phone or send an email to say, I want what you have.
Great, thank you. I have a couple more questions. If anyone else has any questions can you put them in the chat? And also, if you're not in real estate, can you put what industry you're in? So maybe we can have some questions around industry specific things. The next question I had was about the DUNS number. Um, if anybody is, like you said, on social media or on YouTube University, there's all this talk about DUNS number, DUNS number, DUNS number. You said it's no longer necessary for government. If you're trying to get government funding or government contracts, or it's no longer necessary for any business. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
That so that's your unique identifier to your business. And if you are in government contracting, I would actually go to that specific entity that you're requesting funding for to see if that's something that's needed. So please don't quote me on that. But I do know, as far as your unique identifier, that they changed that to that UEI instead as of April of 2022. However, if if there's something specific that you're looking for and it requires a DUNS number, then I would just do research, because I do know that they changed it from DUNS to UEI. That's your and that's just your unique identifier to the business and applying for the correct number.
Okay. Okay. Got that. And then, okay, you stress this a lot about commingling funds, and I know that's something that happens when you don't have your paperwork in place and all of those things. So if that's something, if I've been running my business for 2 years, and I've been using one account for everything. Do I need to wait until I separate everything out and get everything in place before I come to you to get funding, or is there a can you walk me through the process, or how do I need to navigate that if I've been commingling for a minute?
So it's really too late to separate if the funds are already together. I would just say it would be best practice to just slowly back away from that and make sure that you're separating. So if you know for the month of May you were still commingling funds, then just make that disclaimer. But for the month of June, I'm no longer going to use my personal expenses from my business account. So I would just put that disclaimer out there up front and just be very direct. And hey, I really didn't know that this was best practice. And then really point it out in your bank statements what is business and personal, since they're already together. That would help the underwriter. When I'm underwriting and I'm looking at business bank statements, it can be frustrating when you're trying to decipher what's for the business. And now I don't do this, but it makes you want to hurry up and get through the application because you really can't get to the information quick enough, or you have to go back to the business owner and really get clarification on what's business and what's personal. And sometimes you can decipher on your own, but if it's MLG and W, is this the your personal light bill, or is this your business light bill? Or if you went to McDonald's, did you go to McDonald's? Did you buy your staff lunch, or was this a personal trip to McDonald's? And it's a lot of back and forth, and it really just kind of labors that time frame in underwriting. So it's really just best practice, and it keeps your business, and your personal your personal. So I would say just stop if you that's something that's being done, or just make it a date as of June 15th. I no longer have personal and business that are intertwined. Just make a statement to say, as of this date, these are all business expenses. However, if you go back to May or February, then just know that these transactions intertwine with personal.
Okay. Thank you for that. So we got to stop mixing our monies and stuff, creating a mess
I
for
would
us.
say, please, I underwrite on a daily basis, and it would be very helpful just to not have those entities intertwined. It really moves the process along. It streamlines the business, and it's very clean, cut to the point, and you just don't have to kind of filter through to get to what
Mhm.
you're looking for.
Okay. Let's see. The business and financial statements. Now, you mentioned having an accountant to help you with that, but is there another? Um, I'm familiar with SCORE. I don't know how many people are familiar with SCORE, because I know they help with some things as far as like business plans and I don't know if they do the help you with your financial statements and all of that process. But is that something that River City will assist with when it comes to the financial statements piece, or is that
No,
something we need to do before
so
we come to?
we don't have the bandwidth to, we don't have an accounting team that actually assists, but we do have um, partners that we partner with to refer you over to for technical. That would be considered an area of technical assistance. So we do have individuals that we can refer you to that are specialized with small businesses that can, really give you the information that you're looking. Now, do we personally have it as a as an organization? No, we do not. But we can definitely partner you with the right people and get you aligned to get that information for you.
Okay, thank you. Let me check Facebook. I don't see any questions over there, but in the chat, I have two different industries. So one is a child care center, and then the other, well, I'll speak to the child care center first. So can you tell us anything that might be unique to a child care facility that may help them to get funding? Like, what do they need to, is there anything specific to that industry that they need to look out for or to be prepared for when trying to secure funding?
No, I think even if it's childcare, just, well, of course, childcare it's a certain industry, so making sure that you have your licenses, you make sure you have your insurance, making sure that you have your financials in place. It's the same across the board, no matter what the industry. So specific to childcare, of course, if you have a facility, are you renting or leasing the facility? What's the rent payment on that facility? How many children do you have? How much are you charging per child? So that's going to really count for your revenue. It's really industry specific and it's case by case. But across the board, it's going to be the same thing as far as funding, and that's your business financials, your marketing. How are you marketing the business? And then the financial performance of that business. And for childcare, that's specific to headcount, revenue, insurance, staff. How much are you paying your staff and leveraging the payroll to what you're bringing in, so your expenses versus revenue. So that's just childcare in itself, but you still just need all of those things in place to be readily answered if you were seeking funding.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I think the other one was real estate, and you said it's all industry specific. So that's it with that. You mentioned that
I
you
would like
do.
to, so if the individual is in real estate, so we would really need to know what the business is and what you're looking to do. In real estate isn't an actual business entity. So if you are selling real estate and you need funding for that, that wouldn't be something that we would specialize in obtaining funding for or providing funding for. We're looking for an actual business object, like a solidified business with a something that you are looking to execute. So a standalone realtor that has a business is not something that we're going to be providing funding to. But if a realtor has an actual business that they can speak to with a business plan to present, then that's something that we would be able to say, okay, this is something that we can look into and providing funding for. Because our mission is to provide capital to the underserved or to individuals. A community development financial institution is for individuals in the community that are not yet capital ready or not yet bank ready, and
Mhm.
we are here to get you bank ready, so to speak.
Okay. So to clarify, you said for, so if you're in real estate, if you are an individual agent, then there's not not a business that can be funded. But if you have a real estate brokerage and you have agents, that's, does that qualify?
Correct. So you have a brokerage and you have H. So that's different. because you actually have a business that you can speak to. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So if you have uh, a property management that qualifies, okay. What about, and I think the question in the industry in the chat, real estate related, was an adult group home. Does that would that
Yes.
be something that would qualify? Okay. Okay.
So we're not going to say there's not a business that we're not going to at least review because we
Okay.
want to look at the mission and see if it aligns with our mission overall. Does the mission of the business align with our mission as a CDFI? But just to clarify, if it's a just a standalone person and they're wanting to fund their standalone entrepreneurship journey, then that's not something that we're probably not going to be able to fund.
So, okay, I want to clarify again. You said, so if does the does a building, like, do as a, if I'm a business owner or I'm starting a business, do I have to have a building for my
No,
business, or can I work from home?
you can
Can
work
I have
from maybe an online business. I
okay,
know previously we've had someone that had a website that he was operating from. So it just the business plan just has to make sense of what individual is looking to do.
okay, okay. And you said this, so the CDFI stands for.
Community Development Financial Institution.
And the purpose of CDFIs is to get the underserved business
Community.
owners bank ready. Did I get it right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when a big bank says no, we can come to a
So I
CDFI.
want to be very careful.
Okay.
So we're not a catch-all for I could not go to the bank. I'm gonna go to River City Capital. So I definitely want to make that plain. But
Okay.
you may have a substantial business, and the bank policies are just well beyond where you are, but you're almost there. Then you can consider a CDFI to obtain the funding. But it's River City Capital is not just a place to come because you were declined at the bank.
Okay.
So I definitely want to put that. You want to make sure that you are established, that you have everything in place, that financials are still in place, that your credit is still clean. And then there may be some challenges with the credit, and maybe you're leveraged in another area that we can consider. Okay, so but if you just flat out can't go to the bank and you know that you're not just ready at all, I wouldn't suggest going to a CDFI to say, okay, I'm going to go here because I know that they'll take it. You still want to make sure that you're establishing your back office and solidifying yourself as a business owner before you even go to a CDFI.
Okay. Thank you so much for clarifying that, because I don't want people to be like, well, these people told me no, and I heard on this call that Wahpillar said I can come to her and get this good money.
Yeah. Then I'm going to be getting a phone call and you told the people what?
So, okay, so thank you for clarifying. Okay, so there is a question in the chat. Do you consider personal and business credit, or one of the other? I
Both,
think,
I would say.
okay,
If there's business credit established, then definitely we're going to consider. But most people don't have personal, I mean, I'm sorry, most people don't have business credit that we've seen. So it's always personal because there's no business credit established. But with us, we're going to look at both. If you have business credit, we're still going to consider the personal as well. Because if the business does not scale or perform, we want to make sure that the individual is still credit worthy to be able to sustain the loan.
okay. And you may have touched on this. Okay, Tony said thanks. Okay, so you may have touched on this in the beginning when you were talking about the business startup and a established business. So as a startup, if I don't have anything, I haven't made any money, can I still come for funding, or and is that where the collateral comes in? If I'm a very brand new business.
So if you are a brand new startup, that is perfectly fine. However, If you are a brand new startup, just understand that there are things that are going to be asked of you as a startup. You have your business plan. Okay, so on this business plan, what have you put in place to execute the business? On your personal finances, are they structured to be able to repay the loan? Where are you in phasing the business out and getting the business launched? Because right now, if it's just an idea, we're not able to fund an idea. We need to fund something that's tangible, that's workable, and that's already in motion. And we need to know specifically what is the capital needed for. If you say operating expenses, what exactly does that mean when you say operating expenses? And do you have a complete breakdown of those operating expenses and you can speak to that? If you're not able to speak to that information, then what we can do is refer you over to SCORE. We love SCORE. Um, we're partnered with them. They are a very great source to really get you where you need to be. And then you can always come back and revisit the conversation. But if you are a brand new startup, then the foundation has to really be solid before requesting capital.
So I can't come to you with my notebook, Wahpillar, and like, it's great. I know it's gonna work.
You can, but
You're not gonna give me no money.
we can't fund an idea. We definitely need. Do you have a building? Like, where are you in the planning process?
It's all up here. It's all up here. It's
Put
gonna
it on
work. I
paper,
promise
write
you.
the vision, make it plain, and we will get you to where you need to be. But it has to be tangible. Even though we're a CDFI, we want to make sure that it's understood that we are still an actual financial institution. We're not a catch-all that's just taking all the people that the bank is declining. You have to have things in motion and things that are actually tangible and put in place before requesting funding. So if I know I wanted to start an online business, what research have you done on the inventory? How much is the inventory going to cost? What are you paying every month in the website? Where are you in getting it launched? How much is that costing you? What have you put in marketing? Or are you just on Facebook? So it's a deep dive. It's a lot more than putting in an application and hoping that it gets approved. We're really going to dive deep into where you are and how established are you as a business owner in putting this out there and really making this come to life. And not only coming to life, but also being sustainable. In 10 years, where do you see the business going? In 365 days, where do you see the business? Um, and so that's very important to put those things into place that's really going to solidify you as a business owner.
Thank you so much for that. And I joke all the time because I know somebody gonna have that question and that thought, like, I got this great idea, but we need to have our ducks in a row. And you mentioned SCORE. Um, can you what I know about SCORE is they're a free resource, and they do have a lot of online and in-person classes where they are mentors for business owners, correct? Can you speak any more to SCORE and any other organizations that you all partner with?
So we with Score, that is correct. They offer business mentorship. So once you complete that interest form, then they will align you according to whatever business that you have entered that you would like to launch or you currently have. And they're going to match you according to that person's background or what their expertise may be. And then they do offer phenomenal classes. I know that they're at the Benjamin Hooks Library a lot, and then they're also online a lot where they're talking about SBA contracts, marketing strategies. They offer a great wealth of knowledge in classes by individuals who are specialized in that area or in that industry. That's really all I can say concerning SCORE, but I do know that they're online and just from working with them and also from personal experience, they will match you with a mentor, and then their website you can sign up, and then they have an email stream where you'll get a notification of every class that they have and be able to put it on your calendar at any given time. Other than SCORE, it you can tell it's SCORE. You can just type in SCORE Business Mentoring. If she Googles it, it should come up.
I'm
Uh,
about to put the link in the chat. Give me just a second. I'm listening.
Score is the only one that we actually have partnered with as far as business mentorship, but I'm pretty sure that there's many resources out there that offers it, but Score is the one that River City Capital is partnered with.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, Wahpillar. Do you have anything you want to leave us with before we wrap this call today?
No, if anyone has any questions, you can feel free to put my email information in the chat, and we can always schedule time just to see where you are business wise and see if you're capital ready or you would like to be referred over to SCORE. I can make myself available. We can definitely get those conversations started.
Thank you so much. And we will send out, uh, let me see, do I have it right here? I don't have it in front of me. Okay, but we'll make sure everybody on this call today and that registered for the call will have Wahpillar's contact information. So before you go see her, make a call. Before you call her, make an appointment. All of the things. Make sure your ducks are in the row with SCORE, as she mentioned.
Even if your ducks are not in the row, we're going to give you the tools that you need to get you there. So I definitely don't want them to say, "Well, wait, let me wait." I'm not sure if I'm ready to have the conversation. We definitely, always make time to have those conversations to assess where you are, but then refer you over. I think the biggest thing is being a CDFI. There's a misunderstanding that I know I can't go to the bank, so I'm going to come here. You still want to make sure that you're doing all the foundational work as a business owner before you request funding. And if you need guidance to get there, then we definitely want to, be people a resource that can get you there for sure. So we don't want to, you know, mean mug and put that mean face on and say, don't come to us. Absolutely not. No, no, no way whatsoever. We have an open door. Please feel free to put some time on the calendar and let's have those conversations to get you where you need to be.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And I'm going to put the website in the chat right now. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We appreciate you all taking the time out to hear what Wahpillar has to say to help us in our businesses, get the capital that we need to expand our businesses and to grow and even start our business. So thank you again, Wahpillar. Um,
So much for
this
having
is
me.
just
It's a pleasure.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. So, as I mentioned at the top of the call, this is just our first financial literacy class workshop for this month. We have a few more for the rest of the month. If you want to register for any of those, or if you have any questions or ideas about classes that you would like for us to put on, you can visit our website, which is wcnmemphis.com. And I probably should put that in the chat. Angela, if you can put that in the chat for me. So yeah, we have, like I said, we have several classes throughout the month, and we just thank you all for taking the time out today. And again, visit our website wcnmemphis.com. Our calendar is there. You can see all of the classes that we have for the month. Two things I want to point out. I want to bring your attention to. We have a scholarship that we are giving away to high school. We have a few scholarships that were given away for high school or in college bound students or current college students. The application process is on our website as well. We will give those scholarships away at our scholarship tea on June 30th. The deadline for the application for the scholarship is June 14th. All of the information, the application, all of that is on our website, wcnmemphis.com. On behalf of our president, Dr. Stephanie Myers Lewis, I want to thank you again for joining us, and you all enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Thank you.